So, hello everyone and welcome. There's a tendency for me when I approach my meditation time and sitting down to become quiet in my mind. So it's a little strange to sit down to meditate every morning with you this way and start with words. And this idea of quiet, it's like there are times, like in this vacation I had last week where we're in the mountains hiking and there'd be these places we'd come to, beautiful mountain lakes, and groves of trees. And it seemed that the way to approach it was to be quiet, not to talk so much, and also to kind of have a silence in the mind, a receptivity, as if the place that we're in is to be respected and attended to and heard and seen and listened to on its own terms, not on what I think should be happening, or what I think I want, or what my thoughts are spinning stories about. And perhaps there are some times in ordinary life where that happens, that maybe we go to a temple or a church, and entering into it, there's a kind of a reverence and a silence. I call it, this is a place to open attention up and take in the ambience, take in the presence that they're quiet, and not barreling ahead with all our thoughts and concerns. Going to a funeral can be like this. Going to a preschool class when all the children are napping. It's so peaceful and quiet, and it's a time to become quiet oneself. And so meditation is a time like this, where we're trying to, where the receptivity, that there's a presence, not a presence, but there's something we're attending to, that we're quieting the mind. We're not living in the world of our thoughts and thinking and how we interpreting and things, and the stories we make about things, and the meaning we have about what's happening, and the expectations of what should be happening or what shouldn't be happening. And the mind can be spinning. And sometimes it spins fast. There's fast food and now slow food. There's fast thinking and there's slow thinking and quiet thinking. There's thinking that is more receptive to the moment and to be present and not asserting itself and its desires and wants and wishes and fears on top of the moment. So we come to meditation and certainly to recognize, how is it for us? Are we bringing a truckload of thoughts, ideas, stories, memories, plans, concerns to churn and to think about? And if so, then that's what should be listened to and attended to in a quiet way, as if something needs to be heard and you're the hearer, you're the one who will listen. And sometimes it's clear that coming into meditation, we're allowing ourselves to the thinking mind to take a backstage. It's not that important what we think. What's important is what we're feeling or what's happening, or the presence, the attentiveness to the situation, allowing the situation to speak to us rather than us being the speaker, the talker. And so to sit in meditation with a quietude, a receptivity, a listening to whatever's there. So to assume a meditation posture, a posture in which to be receptive, a posture in which to listen better, a posture which which uses the body to attend, to be here with our experience. It means many people sitting a little bit more upright or a little bit more intentional. And then gently gently closing your eyes. And noticing how this moment is for you. As if your body, your heart, your mind is the temple that you step into. Maybe something become quieter as you listen, sense, feel what is here. And within what's here, gently and maybe slowly, taking a few long breaths. As if with each breath, you're gently touching your full experience, gently feeling, attending. And as you exhale, relax, soften this body. Letting your breathing return to normal. And as you continue meditating today, and you notice that you might be thinking and lost in thought, involved in thought, remind yourself there's a different way of being that does not depend on thinking. Letting your thoughts get quiet, softer. Let thinking recede to the background. So you're not living in your thoughts, or so you're not seeing everything through the lens of thinking and stories and meaning. Let your experience of the moment be known quietly without thinking. A reverence, a respect for everything. Which calls on, invites a quieting of the mind as you enter into a sacred place of your direct, immediate experience, breathing here. For this meditation, don't center yourself on your thinking. Let the thinking recede, so you could center yourself on your direct experience. As if your thinking mind gets quiet, so you can feel better, or hear better. There can be a receptivity to the specialness of the moment. So as we come to the end of the sitting, perhaps it's possible to recognize the difference between being with other people and asserting our desires, our needs, our agendas, versus being present with others and listening, receiving the other, being available for the other to be. To barrel ahead with your own wishes and needs and desires, or to relax and open up and to get to know the other person, to feel, to sense, to really know who you're with. And love, and the family of love, compassion, care, goodwill, kindness, arises most easily in the second mode. It doesn't have much space when we're asserting ourselves and asserting our needs and our wants and our agendas. But love has much more time and space and availability when we take the time to be quiet and receptive to know the person we're with. So perhaps you can imagine meeting someone today, stranger or someone you know, from the peacefulness or receptivity or calmness of meditation, or the way, whatever way in meditation, self-assertion has taken a back step in the background. And you can just be with someone without a need or a want or an assertion of self. And from this place, to let there be kindness, goodwill, well-wishing. May others be happy. May others be safe. May others be peaceful. May others be free. And may you tap into your kindness and love with which to meet others. May we meet in friendliness and kindness today, as we learn not to fill the space with our stories, our agendas, our needs, our wants. So there's more space to know and to feel and to love. So hello and welcome to this second talk on grief, a topic and a state of being that can be very difficult and also can be very deeply connected to our love and the depths of who we are and what we think is important in this life. So it's a very important topic to be able to learn how to be present for and recognize and get under the surface of, to see more clearly. And grief is not an enemy, or grief is not a illness or a problem. Grief is part and parcel of a human life, and becoming wise about it and knowing how to be with grief is one of the great benefits of mindfulness practice. So I'm defining grief as the pain the pain arising in the emptiness born from loss. The pain that arises in the emptiness born from loss. And this definition, I'm hoping, will span all the different ways in which griefs are experienced, because there's an infinite number of ways that grief is. Sometimes it's more emotional, sometimes it's more physical, sometimes it's more relational in nature, and there's all kinds of different cultures grieve in different ways. Different cultures experience the pain of loss in different ways. But because it involves a loss, that loss means there's now an emptiness, an absence of something. And that absence, that emptiness, can be huge. Some people feel it's so huge that nothing will ever fill it again, and we'll always be in this great vacuum or great place of meaningless or loneliness or loss. But the bigger that emptiness is, the bigger that absence is, that actually the more it gets filled. And it gets filled with many, many things. And part of mindfulness practice is to begin to enter into this world of this emptiness, to be able to see clearly what is it that fills the emptiness that we're in. What is it that characterizes this pain, this discomfort that comes with loss? And so rather than taking it as being a singular thing, my grief, we can put a little question mark after it. What is this? Maybe we don't really know the grief. So what is this grief? And to sit with it, to be with it, not so much to investigate it, think about it, but rather to enter into grief as if it's a temple or sacred spot or place where we enter into quietly, peacefully, non-assertively, without our needs, without our demands and our wants, but to really be present in the middle of this emptiness, to make space and room for what's there. And then to see all the different elements of it. And one of the key things to think about, or that I think I find helpful, is to not give a lot of preferential treatment to the world of thinking, to thoughts and stories and memories and meanings that we assign to the situation, but rather to be entering into this emptiness and start seeing, there is stories, there are meanings, there are thoughts, ideas, associations there. Those are there, a part of the big picture, including the emotions and the feelings. And to begin seeing, making space for all the component parts. Grief is a composite of many different pieces and parts. Some of them are very personal. Some of them are cultural. Some of them come from our life experience. Some of them come from our hopes and aspirations that we have that have been the rug has been pulled away from them. And so to begin to see the different, enter into this carefully and make space and quietude to really recognize, oh, this is what's happening. Make space for it. And to become quiet. The thinking mind can become quiet in the relationship to grief. And this is not easy, but it's probably one of the most respectful things to do, to really make room for the natural or inner process that our body has for being with grief and allowing grief its space and its time. So to be able to kind of begin understanding the component parts of grief, I want to talk a little bit about what these might be. And one of them is to appreciate the kind of grief it is, or the source of the grief. So some grief is very relational in nature. It has to do with a relationship that has been severed and lost, like there's been a death of a parent or a child or a spouse, a sibling or a friend. And that relationship was so important. And so there's a lot about that relationship that comes into play with the grief. There might be a divorce. And a lot about that relationship comes into play with the grief, and that relationship is what is the emptiness, is the loss of the loss that has created the absence. And so to understand that quality of the relatedness that's no longer there, or is lost, or is been other kinds of grief are more functional. That isn't so much a relationship with another person, but we're losing our abilities. So there's a grief about aging when we get many of our abilities become less and less, and there's a grief from an accident that some abilities we have, functions we have, no longer work, and we've lost, maybe been paralyzed by something, and we'll never be able to do things we did before because our body doesn't function the same way. And so the loss of functioning of abilities that we've had. There's the loss of roles. That sometimes people retire, they've lost the role that was so important for who they were. Children leave home and the role of being a parent is no longer there, and that's the grief, is not being able to care or take care of someone or have breakfast ready for someone, and there's someone dies, and part of the grief is not the loss of the relationship, or is the loss of the relationship, but another part of it is now we can't have that role of the caregiver, of the lover, or the friend of someone, which was so valuable for us, such an important part of our identity, who we were. And then there's more clearly the identity itself, that being some person you can't be that person anymore when this kind of loss has gone away, and not the way that you experienced it before. So loss of identity, loss of who you thought you were and who you thought you were going to become. That spouse dies and you expected that you'd be in retirement together, or traveling around the world, or playing bridge, or doing something with but now the spouse is gone, and the anticipated futures are no longer there. Some people are grieving lost futures, lost anticipated ideas of what was going to come, but also lost identities of who we were going to be. We lose material goods. We might lose all our money in a stock market crash, and our identity as someone who is financially stable or secure or even wealthy is gone, or our identity as someone who can do certain things that requires money goes away, and so it's a loss of grieving the identity, grieving loss. And then there's a loss of material goods, all kinds of losing of wealth, like I said, money, but losing a valuable piece of property that we have, or losing our financial security, or losing our home that we've had for many times of divorce, and we lose something that was so important for us. So these are all different kinds of losses that come into play when people can experience grief around these things. And some of these griefs are very personal in nature, and some of them are more social and interpersonal in nature. There's a personal and interpersonal quality to it. Some of them, so for example, the personal is in an individualistic culture like maybe the United States. Many people are not living in a rich, dynamic social sphere of family or clan or tribe or different things. And so there's a loss. Maybe a couple has been living together alone, they're old, and maybe there's no one who's taking care of them particularly. And so one person dies, and it isn't that now they're part of a rich network of family and a clan, tribe. And so the grief is very individualistic, very alone. And so grief can be very lonely. Other people who might be living in an extended family, in a compound or a town or a village or a tribe, and the elder of the tribe dies, the grief is very social, it's collective, it's something that everyone shares, and the social dynamic of the village has changed with this death, and people, the whole social world begins shifting and changing. And so grief takes a very different form. Then when it's not so lonely, it's collective. When it's collective, it's more cultural, and there's cultural aspects that come into play with how we grieve. And so grief is a composite. It's made up of many different things. Grief is not a singular thing, though each powerful grief that we experience might seem like this is the end of the world. This is it. That this is the thing. That is so huge, and how could anything ever be the same again? But to enter into the world of our grief, maybe in meditation, and let the mind become quiet. This is one of the gifts or the approaches of the meditation world life, and that is to enter into what's difficult, be present for it, but don't let thinking get the upper hand, but to feel and sense and begin allowing the pieces of it to show itself and to be recognized and to be known. Some very different things can happen with grief when we're not churning and thinking and spinning and living in the thoughts and the ideas and the histories and the memories and the ideas, but they become quiet. Quieting the stories. The stories are important, but there's another way. So in these few words I have in this 15 minutes, I hope that this has given you something to consider, that in the emptiness of grief, we fill it with many, many things, and to sit quietly in the middle of it so all the different component parts can be recognized, and that which is extra, those pieces of the component parts of grief which are not needed, can quiet and settle. And some of that has to do with the stories we tell ourselves and the meanings we assign to grief. And that'll be the topic for tomorrow. So thank you, and care for yourself well, and think of mindfulness of however you are, and as mindfulness as a powerful way of protecting yourself, caring for yourself, loving yourself, by not asserting your desires and needs on top of yourself, but rather to listen deeply, to respect here. So, thank you.